What's going on, my fellow wealth creators? Matty Ice here. Welcome to another training. We're going to have some fun going through a Reddit thread that, I've been getting a little more active on Reddit. There's pretty cool stuff. And it was a pretty fun conversation that I tried to interact with, but for some reason, it's just not letting me post in the comment section here. And we're going to talk about IULs cannibalizing themselves. It's a new term that that I saw. I thought it was pretty funny, but it was actually a pretty interesting back and forth conversation that I want to break down. I think these types of conversations are really important to get out there because people can actually see both sides of the story taking place. And, information being shared, some of it's really dumb, some of it's really good, whatever. But at the end of the day, a lot of times, like what I see with content about IULs and even whole life insurance, really any financial product, a lot of the times only half of the story is being told in order to sell the product, right? And I don't really have, I don't have an issue with people selling products. That's fine. But when it comes to things like the types of financial products we're talking about, I think it's really important to know what all of your options are and how those options work so you can determine whether or not they make sense for you. And a lot of the stuff I see about IUL, like here's the thing is I don't like IUL, but what I really don't like is how IUL is marketed. Like I think it's one of the most misrepresented financial products ever. Like it is crazy, some of the stuff that I see out there. And unfortunately, it leads people to make decisions that might not actually be in their best interest because it's based on wrong information. And it's also based on a lack of disclosure of all the risks as well. Because I think if people had a better understanding of what the risks are involved with an IUL, there would be a lot more people that purchase an IUL that probably wouldn't. And it's pretty sad because these things can really hurt people if you're not careful and you don't manage them like a hawk. So anyways, let's have some fun and go through this conversation here, and we'll see if IULs cannibalize themselves. So right here, basically this was a post about, I don't even know how they got into this, but this was a post. Someone was asking about term insurance and whether or not the payments were theirs. Basically, they were asking if they had access to cash value with their term policy. So they're new to life insurance. And they were asking, a couple questions about it. All right, cool. So when we scroll down, where'd it go? Right here. This person's asked, what is your goal with life insurance? Life insurance, if it's to access money, then you need cash value whole life insurance, not term. That's correct. Very, very simple answer to the question. All right, but then this person comes in and says, or an IUL, which is, it's fun to chime in. Like I'm pretty sure he knew where this was eventually going to go because, originally this person said cash value whole life insurance. And then when somebody says IUL, you're inevitably going to get into a pretty good battle. Oops, I did not mean to do that. One second, guys. Let me bring this back up. All right, there we go. All right, so the response was incorrect. IULs will cannibalize themselves. That's a pretty interesting way to put it. Cash value, I think he meant to say goes to cover premiums in a down year. Zero is your hero is BS. And honestly, if you think about it, incredibly terrible tagline. Cash value whole life with a mutual insurer will be better than an IUL. Always has, always will. All right, so let's break down this comment here really quick. First, let's address if IULs will cannibalize themselves. I think it's definitely possible. I don't think they all will. It really depends on how you manage them and also how you fund them as well. It's not enough to properly structure them. They have to be funded in a very particular way. You have to max fund them, all right? If you don't, then they can absolutely blow up in your face or cannibalize themselves. This is another way of saying cannibalize themselves. It's usually how I say it, blowing up in your face, where you don't have enough cash. Your policy did not perform as illustrated. All right, you did not manage your net amount at risk. If your net amount at risk is too high in the later years, when you get older and you don't manage that, that's when the cost of insurance can really start to have a big impact on your policy during those 0 years. Because, okay, maybe you didn't lose money directly in the market because you're not invested directly in the market with an IUL, but you can lose money because the market went down. Because, especially if you're not making premium payments anymore, which most people are not in retirement, what happened? Like, where does the cost of insurance and fees come from? Where does the interest on your loan balance come from that you've been utilizing to take tax-free retirement income? Where does that come from in a 0 year? It comes from the cash value. That's what he's talking about, cannibalizing itself, where it starts to drain the cash value during those 0 years because of all these different things. You have cost of insurance, which your cost of insurance skyrockets when you get older, guys. In an IUL, because it's built on annual renewable terms. So when you hear IUL agents say your cost of insurance is really cheap, don't listen to it. And I've even heard agents say your cost of insurance goes down when you get older. That is a complete lie. What they're talking about is your net amount at risk. That dollar amount, whatever that is, that's what your cost of insurance formula, whatever, gets applied to. So you can manage that. All right. But your cost of insurance per $1,000 of coverage goes up exponentially when you get older, and it can very easily get out of control. You have to be very, very careful with it. So that's what he's talking about there. I don't think they'll all cannibalize themselves, but it comes down to risk reward. Like, are we really wanting to roll the dice with our financial future and inject this level of risk into our lives just because we think we might get 6 or 7% every single year, which is never going to happen in IUL, even though they illustrate it, whatever. But it's just something to think about. So it was an interesting term. I kind of like it. Well, cannibalizing themselves. But anyways, let's move on. I'm not going to go through the whole thread, but there is a point that I want to get to that is very, very common with IUL agents. And it's pretty disappointing as well when you challenge them to a live conversation and they always come up with a reason or start slinging personal attacks as to why, like, they're so much better than you. Like, why would I waste my time talking to you? Well, you're wasting your time going back and forth in the comments section. Why not get on a call? Why not get on my channel and let's have a conversation about it? But they rarely ever do. So he says, this is simply not true. There's a lot there to discuss, but you are generalizing, which is not a good way to go about it. He's actually not. I mean, he kind of is a little bit. Like, he didn't go into too much detail, but eventually he's going to. He's not generalizing. I'm speaking from experience. IUL is good for someone with a high risk profile. That is true. Like, if you have a high risk profile and you like to roll the dice a little bit, then yeah, IUL would be good for you because that's exactly what you're going to get. But if you want level premiums, guaranteed growth, tax-free access to your funds, guaranteed death benefit, and a bunch of protections in place, cash value whole life with a mutually owned life insurance company is far better than an IUL. Absolutely, 100%. If you have a high risk profile and don't mind the increasing premiums and the incredible chance that your policy will mech and you have to end up paying taxes or your policy lapsing, then sure, IUL might be right for you. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Here's why. So let's break this down a little bit. Don't mind the increasing premium. So here's the thing here's the part about IUL that can be very, very misleading. I don't think people understand this. Like, when you look at an IUL illustration and it shows you not making premium payments anymore, that does not mean your premium payment is not due anymore. Okay, because again, your cost of insurance is going up every single year in this product because it's built on annual renewable term. So as long as you have enough cash value in your policy to cover your cost, fees, interest, whatever, then okay, fine. Those 0 years, again, you're gonna go backwards. You can absolutely lose money in an IUL. All right, but people think they don't have to make premium payments anymore. Well, if you don't manage the policy and you start to run, your cash value gets depleted, you will get that letter from the insurance company saying, hey, you have to pay however many thousands of dollars to keep the policy in force, otherwise it's going to lapse. That can absolutely happen. All right. And when he's talking about the policy meching, well, one of the ways of managing net amount at risk is lowering and adjusting the death benefit. Well, you lower it too much, you could absolutely risk meching the policy. And now all of the income that you've taken turns into a massive, creates a massive tax bill at that point. Like, are you starting to see how there's so many things that can go wrong, so many things that can happen inside of an IUL? Is it really worth the risk? I don't think it is. So there's some great points in here that he made about the policy meching, about the policy lapsing, right? So, if you want to roll the dice with that stuff, it's absolutely right for you, but you better be very, very careful. There's a reason my firm is constantly saving people from their IULs, pre, post, mech, and lapse. It's sickening, right? So he's actually experiencing it. We experience it all the time at the Life 180 agency, where they're just constantly there's people coming in and they're reviewing IUL illustrations, in-force illustrations, what was originally illustrated, and it's just a disaster, guys. These things are not living up to the hype whatsoever many times. All right, so okay, so this is where where he invites the person to get on a call. Lack of education is destroying people's finances. 100%. I could not agree with that more. I'd be happy to jump on a call with you and show you why everything you've been taught is a lie. All right, but here we go. I'm good, bro. I have better things to do. Oh, really? So you can go back and forth, like, because this is a pretty long thread. He goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Well, damn it. I was going to show you how long the thread is, but he's got no problem going back and forth on the thread here in the comment section. But as soon as it comes time to put your money where your mouth is, all of a sudden I don't have time. Really? Or you have better things to do than comment on Reddit. Really? Okay. Thanks for your opinion, though. Better things to do? If that was the case, why did you post or IULs? What advantage do they have? I meant talking to you. See this? Didn't refute a single point I made because it's true. Keep scamming people, bro. Don't have to. I don't owe you anything. Blah, 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 blah. All right. And it just starts to get into, like more of a personal tussle. Don't have to. I don't owe you anything. You don't. But if you're selling life insurance, you owe your clients a lot. You're doing them a disservice by being uneducated about what you're selling. I love that. I wish I could chime in here. Just it will not let me comment on the thread. I don't know why. If it's like locked or something like that. Damn it. I keep pushing the wrong button. I'm sorry, guys. Hang on. Let me pull that up again. All right. Because that statement is so powerful. Right, let's see. Right here. You're doing them a disservice by being uneducated about what you're selling. See, the excuse about people don't know what they don't know, I get it to a certain extent. But if you're going to be selling products, financial products that have a major, major long-term impact on people's finances, you damn well better know what you are selling. It is not an excuse to say, oh, well, I didn't know. Really? Why didn't you know? You should do your research. Like before I got into this industry, guys, before I even considered getting into this industry, I did a ton of research because I was a consumer. I wanted a policy because I wanted to implement the infinite banking concept. It's a really powerful strategy. I love it. Unfortunately, I got very close to purchasing an IUL because that was the majority of the content that was coming up around the infinite banking concept and starting your own private banking system and things like that. Fortunately, I'm very conservative. I'm pretty careful with what I do with my money now because I used to be super broke. So I watch it like a hawk or manage it like a hawk, whatever. And so I started going down this rabbit hole, like listening to both sides of the story, IUL, whole life, which one's better. And both sides had very strong opinions, but one was backed up by more facts than the other, whole life insurance. And also when they were talking about like all the things that can go wrong with an IUL, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything that could manage those risks in an effective way that was in alignment with what I wanted to do with my money. That's why I went with a whole life insurance policy, and I can't stand IUL. But once I started to understand these things, that's when I was like, okay, I have an obligation to start to share this information. One, because this infinite banking concept strategy is really, really powerful. It can help people so much with their finances, right? So I wanted to share that, but I also wanted to expose the risk of IUL because I almost purchased one as a consumer. And if I did, there's got to be hundreds of thousands of people out there on the same journey that if they knew how it actually works and what can go wrong, they would probably run the other direction just like I did, right? So I feel a moral obligation and duty to do that and share this. But before I got into the industry, I did my research. I understood how these things work. And here's the thing. I don't know everything. I'm not perfect. I'm not saying you have to be and that you have to know every single little thing about an IUL or whole life insurance in order to start, providing that service or product to people. All right. But you should have a really good understanding about the fundamentals of how they work, what can go wrong, what are the risks before you start promoting it to people as if it's this magical unicorn product that is going to solve everybody's problems. It's going to create this massive amount of tax-free retirement income. You can never lose money in it. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you have an obligation to learn how these things actually work if you're going to sell them, because you can really hurt people with these products if you don't. All right. So, and then he starts, just to finish up, because I wanted to point out, like, this is who you're dealing with sometimes, a lot of the times. Like, man, I've had quite a few conversations in the comments section with IUL agents, and it's interesting. They always turn to personal attacks and just really dumb stuff. Here he is calling him an insecure D-bag and all that. It's like, how is that productive? And again, I thought you had better things to do, right? And now you're calling people names on the internet? Really? You have better things to do? Okay. So anyways, also be careful who you're dealing with as well. So I thought that was a very interesting thread on Reddit. I thought it was a fun conversation. Maybe not super productive. In the beginning, it was a little bit, but I think it helps to see both sides of the story. That's why I always have an open invitation to any IUL agent or advocate. If you ever want to get on the channel and have a conversation, let's do it. I'm not I'm absolutely open to that. My goal is to give people the facts and information they need to make the right decision for themselves, whether that's an IUL if they want to roll the dice, or that's whole life insurance, or neither. I don't care. I want people to be able to make an informed decision. So if you are an IUL advocate or agent, whatever, you want to get on the channel, let's have a conversation. Just be ready for the tough questions. And hey, throw some tough questions at me too. Let's have some fun. Let's have a dialogue, all right? So I hope you guys are crushing it. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions or any feedback, I would love to hear them in the comment section. Drop them down below. Make sure you check out the resources in the description as well. I have a ton of additional free training in there for you guys to help you along your infinite banking journey. With that said, I appreciate your time, guys, and I will talk to you in the next one. To your success, Matty Ice is out.